Well, we kick off this morning taking a look at South Africa, taking a look at citizenship laws, taking a look at immigration. And the cabinet has approved changes to South Africa's immigration and citizenship laws. We're going across now to be joined by immigration law expert Ashraf Essop. Ashraf, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome and jazakallah khairan so much for your time. Ashraf, assalamu alaikum.
I can hardly hear you.
Well, let's just see what we can do. In fact, I can hear you quite clearly. It does appear as if Ashraf is having a slight problem. We will try and sort this problem out. But just to provide some context to what is actually taking place. And I think for many of us, since the advent of democracy, we have seen an influx of people from right across the entire world into South Africa. Some have come through legally, many have come through illegally as well. And we've seen some of the results, some of the consequences of the whole question about abuse of the immigration laws as well. And we've heard about fake permits, fake passports as well. Many have come under the pretense of seeking asylum in South Africa, where asylum was not necessary. And clearly, this has led to some of the other problems that we are faced with in this country, where the country has an infrastructure that is unable to support all the additional people that have come through to the country, whether we're talking about schools, whether we're talking about hospitals, electricity, and obviously we've seen this mushrooming of businesses, informal settlements. There's just so much that one can actually take as far as immigration and citizenship in South Africa is concerned. We know there's been abuse at the likes of the Department of Home Affairs as well. So putting all of this into context and to find out whether these changes are absolutely necessary, I see Ashraf Essop is back on screen. Ashraf, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm struggling to hear you. Is there something I can do?
Well, I'm not too sure. Obviously, my engineer would able to guide you. I'm just hoping that you can hear me clearly enough, Ashraf. And let's just start off with looking at the need for reviewing our immigration and citizenship laws in this country. Is there a need right now?
I'm sorry, I can't continue with this. I cannot hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, we need to apologize for this really clearly. I think there seems to be a problem somewhere, and I'm going to ask my engineer to try and see if he can't get Ashraf telephonically, and just to try and get Ashraf to hear us, because there certainly seems to be a problem on the other side. So let's try and get hold of Ashraf telephonically. What we will do is let us just go for a quick break. We'll come back and hopefully we will be able to get Ashraf Essop online.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
South Africa has taken a very strong legal position globally by approaching the ICJ, alleging that Israel is committing genocide. And what this means is that South Africa has formally recognized the seriousness of the situation and has placed itself on record in this regard. What the report argues in us is that can we continue exporting coal into a system that helps sustain what we have already called a genocide? The report details precisely just how much coal South Africa since October 2023 has exported, and this coal fuel generates electricity for Israel, which then directly feeds into the IDF's genocidal military operations, as well as entrenching the illegal occupation.
A lawyer assisting the SAPS Coalition's Energy Power campaign, Attorney Sirhan Khan.
This is Salam Media. Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
You South African, of course. You anxious about the future.
Welcome back to this morning's edition of News and Views, and hopefully we will be able to hear immigration law expert Ashraf Essop. Ashraf, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me, and Juma Mubarak.
Yes, Juma Mubarak to you as well. Ashraf, we are talking about South Africa set for an immigration reset as far as legislation is concerned. And we've heard about Cabinet approving bold changes to South Africa's immigration and citizenship laws. Let's just talk about the need for this review and for these changes.
So it's no secret that South Africa has faced a number of challenges regarding all of its immigration policies, and those impact obviously on other matters such as refugee status, as well as immigration visas and permits, as well as matters referring to citizenship. So the white paper was proposed first in 2017. And it's obviously gone through a number of changes, and it was put out for public comment recently. That process has now come to an end, and the obvious need is to change with the times. So, for example, in the past, we never had a thing called a remote work visa. So that has come into not in terms of the present legislation, but it has changed the way people will enter and work remotely in South Africa. Another area is obviously the electronic visa systems that they showcased in order to attract further visitors and tourists to the country and making it as streamlined as possible. Then recently you would have seen the push towards digitization of one's ID, and you can go to a number of branches of banks, and you can help yourself to input your details. So all of these things fall under the purview of the Department of Home Affairs. With regard to the recent changes, as I've indicated, it's not only on immigration, it touches on a number of other subjects. That's the background.
Well, let's just talk on some of the other subjects, because since democracy, Ashraf, we've seen influx of people coming into South Africa, literally millions of people for a variety of reasons. And some of the reasons we talk about is coming here seeking asylum. Many have come for work and for other reasons, but also we've seen a system that has been abused for a very, very long time. How often have we heard of things like, fake permits or fake IDs being issued as well? And clearly this has been problematic over a period of time, and it's put a lot of pressure on this country.
And I think that was one of the reasons why the recent changes have now been implemented. Let's try and isolate the first discussion, that of asylum and refugee seekers. As you pointed out, since 1994, there have been a number of changes, and South Africa's porous borders allowed a number of people to be admitted, and the process was no doubt led to a number of people obtaining documentation, either legally or legitimately or otherwise. But the way it worked is that you could actually come in as an asylum seeker, and within a period of 90 days, you had to actually apply for permanent residence if you had somehow managed to marry a citizen in that 90 days. So those applications catered for a situation where you came in perhaps as a refugee seeker, or you crossed the border illegally, and then you found yourself in the Republic, and then you took steps to legalize yourself, and you found that within a period of 2 years, citizenship was granted. Now, it's no secret that South Africa's asylum-seeking regime has been overrun, and that's why, for example, you had changes to the way that Zimbabweans were treated because the asylum-seeking system was overrun by the number of applicants. A special dispensation was granted, which is now known as the ZEP, Zimbabwean Exemption Permits. And we know that those matters now are in court, and the matter has not yet been settled because they've been granted until 2027 to apply for regular immigration visas. Now, the National Treasury has put out that because of the system being under strain, it would, in the ordinary course, take about 63 years to clear the backlog in the asylum and refugee sections. So with that in mind, this latest reform holds that if you leave your place, your country of origin, due to what the United Nations has set out to be matters that are either internally or externally destabilizing, and you fear prosecution or persecution, and you leave. So the refugee status determining officer now will perhaps be in a position once it's passed to ask you, why did you not flee to the country of first refuge? So this is a new innovation, and you're going to have to make a good case out for why you would not have sought refugee status in the first country that you actually went to. Now, there's two problems with that. In some of the interviews I've seen, for example, people from Ethiopia were asked a similar question in the media, and they said, well, we can't go to Somalia because that itself is a war zone. So that makes out a case why you couldn't seek refuge there in the first place. The second very important part of the conversation is, even if you're here and the shield of non-refoulement applies, it means that you would plead that you can't be returned to the country of origin because of ongoing stability and personal fear of harm. But the minister is now empowered to enter into agreements with third countries to say, look, we need to share how we're dealing with these refugees and enter into an agreement with them to say that the non-refoulement principle will apply. So what it envisages is, and we've seen this around the world, you being sent to a third country, not back to your country of origin, because you say you fear harm there. So the principle non-refoulement is that you are not being sent back to face harm, you're sent to a third country. So these are some of the measures put into place to try and deal, obviously, with the attraction that many people find to South Africa. Now, it's important also to bear in mind that once you receive a Section 24 asylum seekers permit, you're not yet declared a refugee, but you are granted a lot of rights. For example, you may open a business without following the prescripts in the Immigration Act, which again, I've seen in the media is a demand made on foreigners. Where's your 5 million rand capital, and where's the approval from the DTIC, Department of Trade and Industry, which falls under the purview of the Immigration Act. It doesn't apply to refugees. So they're given a discount in terms of the Dibone decision, which was enacted 10 years ago, that said that you can migrate out of your refugee status and you can operate a business in the ordinary course if you meet the immigration requirements. So there's two conversations there. One, that as an asylum seeker, you may operate a business without further documentation. And two, you can actually migrate out of the refugee system. For example, if you marry a South African citizen, and you can migrate into the mainstream immigration visas. But both of them have a pathway towards permanent residence, which is another reform that one is seeing in the present legislation, because ultimately permanent residence leads up to citizenship. Now that is also being changed because it's no longer going to be time-based or relationship-based. So, for example, 5 years as a PR holder entitles you to apply for citizenship. But that is no longer the case because there's now going to be a criteria that you're going to have to satisfy. And in simple terms, is what value do you add to the Republic? It's not enough that you are married or that you're here for 5 years. You've got to prove some kind of worth. You've got to have some kind of contribution to the Republic and the national goals. So again, that is under reform.
Yes, Ashraf.
So I hope I've made that clear.
You certainly have, and I think just on the question of the citizenship, there is talk about a merit-based assessment and a points-based citizenship system.
Yeah. So clearly, with regard to citizenship, the reforms that the cabinet will basically says, in terms of immigration visas, you have to meet the points. Now, at present, you need 100 points, either at a critical skills level. If you have one of the critical skills that are listed, you get 100 points. If not, under the work visa, you've got to earn those 100 points. So a lot of it depends on the salary, which is quite high. It is between 600 and R1 million per annum. You got to at least have a degree up to master's level or honors, depends, and then a number of years of experience, proficiency in certain areas before you granted the work visa. So all of that now will be changed and collapsed into a new system. One of the fundamental areas of exploitation was the retired person's visa, because there wasn't any minimum age. Now, I mean, you can't say that the applicants had taken advantage if the legislation itself didn't say that there had to be a minimum age for a retired person's visa. But obviously, a retired person's visa was then exploited, and people obtained retired persons, even young as 25, and then went on to obtain permanent residence. So that now is no longer going to be allowed. The purpose really is economic activity and contribution to South Africans' priorities. And, they're looking at job creation, kind of investments and economic growth. And obviously, all of these will receive higher score points under the merit system. So you can see that it's now being tackled to attract the necessary skills needed to build South Africa as a sustainable nation. And the important contribution of foreigners has always been recognized in our Immigration Act. So I hope, again, in terms of that, I'm clear, it's really going to be for people that are skilled and add to the to the spread in the labor market. Again, it has to be read with the other legislation. For example, there are going to be there is going to be a change in the way that you employ foreigners. So there's going to be a quota system that falls outside the Department of Home Affairs. It actually falls under the jurisdiction of the Department of Labor. So, they're all knitted together to try and stem the tide of illegal immigration and only attracting the best of the best to the Republic.
Well, Ashraf, Jazakallah khairan so much for that, for putting this into context. Obviously, we will see how this legislation actually works and pans out going forward. But for now, we thank you. We say Jazakallah to you for your time. Have yourself a great Jummah as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Immigration law expert Ashraf Essop was us this morning. We're going to go for a break. We come back. We go to Nigeria, one of the, in fact, unprecedented terror trial in Nigeria. 500 people that are as we speak right now, on trial for terrorism.
Re-